Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Chairman of Soccerex, Tony Martin.
Good morning. A very warm welcome and to Jordan and this year's Soccerex Asian Forum. Thank you for joining us. Football is the most important sport in the world, commanding an astonishing 43% of all the world's sporting interest. The Soccerex humble contribution to this is to regularly bring the world's football community together, providing a platform for business opportunities and helping the game to improve and to prosper. And in increasingly anxious and unstable times, to perhaps highlight how football's great power and allure can be used as a persuasive tool for extraordinary social and humanitarian benefit. Over the next 2 days, we've lined up an innovative exhibition, a programme of thought-provoking conference sessions, and many networking opportunities. And we close tomorrow with an interview with none other than the legendary Diego Maradona. In attendance in unprecedented numbers, we have Football Association presidents, major event committees, the biggest leagues, elite clubs, football legends, key decision makers and business leaders from all corners of the world. We're delighted that you could all be here with us and very grateful for the journeys you've made and the valuable time that you're giving us. We're hosted in Jordan by the Asian Football Development Programme in this superb King Hussein bin Talal Convention Centre. We're deeply grateful for their continuous support and friendship. And also, of course, to our other sponsors and supporters, there would not be a Soccerex without you. So, we begin this morning with an eagerly awaited audience with one of football's major authorities and top benefactors. He is the founder of the Asian Football Development Project, president of the Jordanian Football Association, president of the West Asian Football Confederation. He's a real prince, and he's probably the nicest guy you're ever likely to meet. It's His Royal Highness Prince Ali bin Al-Hussein. Our opening session is led by the chairman of the AIPS Football Commission and highly respected sports journalist, Keir Radnich. So please enjoy your Soccerex experience. It's over to you, Keir. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Royal Highness, Your Excellencies, invited guests, all the delegates who've come to Soccerex from around the world. It's a great pleasure to see you all here, to see a packed hall. It's always very encouraging to see a packed hall when you start proceedings like this. Firstly, I would just like to say one particular note. Those of you who are used to starting Soccerex and seeing David Davis up on stage, David was taken ill a few days ago. Happily, he's making a good recovery, but he wasn't quite ready to come bounding onto the stage in his usual way, so I've come off the substitutes bench for him, and I'm sure we all wish him the very best, and we'll send him a very special message. He's eager to know how successful Soccerex is again this year, and particularly in this wonderful setting, for which we're grateful for your hosting opportunities, Your Royal Highness. So, firstly, we've started with Tony telling us about Soccerex, and maybe you'd like to share a few thoughts about the partnership between AFDP and Soccerex. We're here for the second time.
No, first of all, I'd like to welcome you all, obviously, to Jordan. Jordan's a wonderful country. It's the crossroads of civilizations. And wonderful to have a start here in the Dead Sea. As we like to say in Jordan, when you start at the lowest point on earth, the only way to go is up. So we wish you a wonderful time here. I hope that it, as always, that Soccerex is a forum that brings people together, where you can share your ideas, learn about each other a little bit more, and hopefully take away from Jordan the character and the culture that we are, with dignity, respect, and building bridges in the sport of football as well. So thank you all for being here. As for Soccerex, I think it's really a wonderful forum. A lot of times there is a lack maybe in the ability of key people in football to come together, to mix together, to have legends with us, of course, as well. So it's a great opportunity, and I'm very, very happy and pleased that AFDP has been able to partner up with Soccerex for the second year in a row. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's fine. The AFDP, I know those of us who come into contact with it every now and again are always amazed at the work you do, the work you've been able to do, the countries you go to. I wonder if you could review for us what you've achieved over the past year, and maybe, you know, where AFDP is going in the next year.
Sure. Well, AFDP was a concept that we came up with when I was first elected as Vice President for Asia. And I thought that it was important to give something more to football in terms of social responsibility. So we began it as a project, and we called it AFDP. It's rather a difficult thing to pronounce. As a friend of ours, Norman, the president of the Malta FA, who unfortunately had to leave us this morning, he says we have to come up with a little bit more of a catchy name, so we'll look into that. But we've been able to do a lot of projects across the continent, and in particular partnering up with NGOs as well as football associations, because football is not simply about top-level competition and winning, but also using football both as a tool to develop the sport, but also as a tool to give back to societies. And I think there's a short video that will maybe show a little bit of what has been going on with AFDP.
Good.
I don't know.
Is it ready now?
All right, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So,
Yes. Imagine you've seen it. Yes. Okay. Yes. And what about the coming year?
I think this is a project that will continue in Asia, and ultimately, I would like to see it go global.
Okay.
So
Wow. Okay.
we're looking into that. Obviously, it's a busy time right now for
Sure.
myself. So you know, after this coming period, we'll definitely review and look at ways where we can enhance it.
How many countries do you reach with AFDP now?
We've reached, I believe, the majority of Asia.
Yeah.
Not yet all of Asia, but again, you know, there are also restraints in terms of sponsorship and so on. We're very happy with the sponsors that we have, but we look to enlarge it and do as much partnership as we can as well.
So the message is, if there's anyone out there looking for a project
we're very willing
sponsor,
to.
then you know where to go. Yes,
Sure.
yeah, no, that's terrific. Well, I think one of the great things about AFDP is getting into young people and integrating them, because sport is such a great unifying, educating factor.
Sure.
And in, you know, another generation, they are the leaders, the sponsors, the staff, the officials.
Sure.
And
Well, to give an example, we did a project in Bhutan to help out their youth. And again, Bhutan is a country beautiful country in the Himalayas, but is really quite difficult to access and so on. And I'm very pleased right now that Bhutan has won their first World Cup.
You can't quite claim credit for that.
We don't claim credit, but we like to feel that we're a part of it. We had a project, for example, in Cambodia, where we teamed up with the local NGO, Salt Academy, and basically to take girls who were victims of trafficking and through football give them a sense of community. and now they are actually the national women's team of Cambodia.
Okay.
And even close to home, for example, we've done a lot of work with Syrian refugees. We went into Zaatari, which is the major refugee camp in the north of Jordan, and we said we want to bring football to the kids. And we teamed up with organizations. We had obviously UEFA, the government of Norway, as well as Spirit of Soccer, which is an NGO that helps educate about landmines through the use of football, and obviously UNHCR. Initially, there was sort of a question as to, is this a priority for us? But they realized that through football, you actually bring these kids together, boys and girls. You give them something to do. Sure, they have the basic necessities which are most important in terms of food, clothing, housing, and education. But football managed to bring these kids together to keep them away from other things, and it's been, I think, a tremendous success, and hopefully a model for any unfortunate situations in the future.
And presumably that's had a particular role to play in Zaatari, because obviously occupying people is important.
And give them a sense of well-being, of teamwork, and some hope, and something that they enjoy.
Yeah, yes. No, that's terrific. So how many countries do you reach altogether?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, we're still in the process of continuing our outreach, but we're looking, hopefully by the coming year, to at least have had an impact in at least 40 countries.
Okay.
But that's a continuous
process.
Growth and a process.
Yeah.
And obviously there is, we reach out, but we also get applications for support. So.
As you become more known in the work people...
And we do it in let's say, not a discreet way, but we're not there to advertise ourselves. We're there to help out. And at the end of the day, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's a great project, and I think you've been congratulated on the idea and the breadth, and I think the reach you've made already in a comparatively short time.
I appreciate it.
I think it's very impressive, because as you say, the headlines in football do tend to be about the professional game and what's happening World Cups and Premier League level, but actually sport, I always think that sport sort of goes across all the boundaries of religion, culture, politics. It's the one thing that can do that.
And I think it's what's most important, and one of the reasons I was talking about going global is there are so many people, and people such as Diego Maradona, my friend as well, who is also helping out with youth, with children across the world. And these are the sort of partnerships that we do, because that's the most important thing. And it's wonderful to be able to work with such people. So that's the outlook, I hope, for the future.
Yes, yeah. Well, when you talk about the Asian Football Development Programme, is Asia, as far as the Asian Football Confederation is concerned, includes Australia? Do you go that far?
Yes, we have a project in Australia as well, which helps with communities who are coming into Australia, and to help integrate into society as well. So, And it's a vast continent, and there's so many challenges, and we also work case by case. So we look at what are the key issues or where things are needed in the country, and we tailor to their needs.
Yeah, I always think that, Asia is horizontal, whereas all the other confederations are really vertical, between Europe, Africa, the Americas, and so on. It's half a world, really, from here across to the far side of Australia. Do you think, in a sense, that that's a problem in terms of governance and development of the game, because it is such a broad area to sort of work across?
Well, I think, on the contrary, it's a global world. Communication is easy. Transportation is the difficulty, I think, and just being able to reach each other, and that has puts a significant challenge on national associations, in terms of their organization, in terms of, for example, matches, qualifiers, and so on. But it's been done, and it's a constant struggle. But I think that we're managing.
Managing, yes.
And it's beautiful to be part of a continent that has so much diversity.
So, but again, if you come back to a headline issue, Asia had 4 teams in the World Cup finals last year. I know Jordan nearly got there. You were very close. You were very close, just a playoff away, and a few goals. But it's a minor point. But
thanks for rubbing it in.
I was playing up the positive. You were almost there. Yes. But 4 teams in the World Cup finals, and not one of them got to the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, is there an issue that, the Asian football can do something more with, or is this how do you cope with spreading and developing the game to a higher level? Because the World Cup is a sort of, headline, it's a sort of shortcut to status almost, if you like.
Well, the way I look at it is definitely we need to do a lot more in terms of development and grassroots, and we have to learn from other confederations and people around the world. That's why, again, a forum like this is very, very important. We have to do a lot more in terms of infrastructure as well in Asia. I think there was a statistic, if you look at the entire continent of Asia, I believe Norway has more pitches than all of Asia put together, for example. But I think on the positive side, true, we did not do well at all in the last World Cup on that level, but we've seen so many teams in Asia beginning to reach a level. So the competition within Asia is becoming quite good. Just to give an example, I mean, we had Palestine in the Asian finals with all the challenges that they have. And so we're looking at teams building up. As you said, Jordan, I mean, we are developing in football. We have very small resources compared to others, particularly in our region, but we managed to reach the stage we did. I hope we would have automatically qualified instead of having to go up against Uruguay, but at the same time it was a wonderful experience for us. True, we lost at home, but we managed to draw with them in Montevideo, which in itself was quite interesting achievement.
Yes, this is interesting. What I was then going on to is to say, if you're working in development, and obviously with AFDP, you're aware particularly of the grassroots issues, it must be very difficult and very challenging to try to get the same development message across so many different levels, I mean, both in terms economically, culturally, politically, and so on, and get the same response.
No, I think that football is a language that everybody understands, but it's a matter of really coordinating a lot more together, not being a little bit shy or reserved when it comes to interaction with others. I was very happy to have helped orchestrate, along with President Platini, a memorandum of understanding between the Asian Football Confederation and UEFA. But again, it's up to national associations to take advantage of that, and even to understand a little bit more the benefits of that. In terms of interaction, for example, our women's team had a national team coach from Japan, which also came through agreements, and I think it's up to people just to take as much advantage of these opportunities as possible. And really, as a confederation, they need to put much more emphasis into that, and also into getting feedback from national associations, their needs and their interests as well.
What does the MOU actually mean in practical terms? Because it's almost very popular nowadays for organisations to sign MOUs here, there and everywhere. You know, it's a good press release line and so on. And you sometimes wonder actually where does this go on to? So what does that mean in practical terms?
Well, the MOU basically means that you have an agreement with UEFA, for example, which national associations can take advantage of in terms of getting coaches, in terms of applying for equipment and expertise. So it's a very important umbrella that allows that sort of interaction. Again, different countries have different sizes, different challenges. And you may find countries, let's say in Europe, who have some of the same challenges that their counterparts in Asia might have, and vice versa. So the more coordination that we have between confederations, the better. I would hope that the same thing applies to CONCACAF, to CONMEBOL, to CAF as well. The more exchange we have, the better it is for all of us. And after all, we all contribute together.
Yeah. So you've had a very interesting 4 years as Asian Vice President of FIFA. Can I ask you what you've learned in those 4 years about the Asian game, about the world game, about development, about the ins and outs, really the intricacies of running a world game, because football is by far and away the most popular game in the world and has so much reach?
Well, it's been a very interesting 4 years for me. Maybe I sort of...
I would think that's an understatement, probably.
Yeah. No, I mean, I came into it obviously to give as much as I can, representing our continent, representing our needs, and also to coordinate as much as possible with other colleagues. I've had some wonderful experiences with colleagues, for example, in the executive committee. But it was also a bit of a culture shock to me, let me put it that way.
Okay.
In terms of how things, or the atmosphere of how things are.
How do you mean
FIFA.
the atmosphere? What does that mean?
Well, there's a little bit of an atmosphere where having your own opinion and doing things in a certain way is not exactly seen in the best of light. Which is unfortunate, and that goes down even to the idea of committees and how committees are conducted. You have people who come from all over the world to discuss very important issues in football, and in fact you end up sort of getting this whole program given to you and only a few minutes to have a discussion, which in my opinion should be the other way around. I mean, you're going there to explain to FIFA what your needs are, and to contribute to the future of football. And I think it's just a different way of, or a different understanding of how things should be. And again, FIFA is a service organization, because in reality it's our national associations that own FIFA, not the other way around. So in that respect, it's been interesting. And of course, there are many positive things that I've seen, and I'm happy to have been a part of, but there's a lot more that can be done, a lot of opportunity to improve football, I think, in the future.
Sure, I mean, if there was one particular thing that you learned, I mean, you can be positive about this and say, during your 4 years, that you brought out of the experience, what would it be?
Well, I think, again, my experience has been a unique one, in the sense that there are different driving forces within football. There's a thought that by some that things should remain as is. It's an organization that has and will always have probably funding and sponsorship and what have you, because of the nature of the game. But in my opinion, that's riding the wave of football. It's not actually giving that much back to our national associations and so on. I think that there's so much more that can be done in that respect. And so that's what really struck me within the organization. And there are opportunities that can be taken that maybe are not. And I think that we have to encourage that. We have to encourage the self-sustainability of our national associations. I come from a national association that struggles because of the nature of our country. It's, although we do get some support from the government, it's a difficult sport to maintain. You always need more help. And FIFA can help fill that if we relook at how we do things.
Sure. I mean, is that partly about structures, or is it partly about actual communication?
Both.
Yeah.
I think that we have to be a lot more open, a lot more transparent in how we do things. There's nothing to hide, in my opinion, or there shouldn't be. And also, we have to have more of a regional outlook. We have to go to the regions. They have their own specific challenges. You cannot run everything simply from Zurich, but you have to have that input as well. We have a good budget, but I think we have to put much more of a percentage back into the game. I take UEFA as an example. You have to have at least 80% of your budget going back into football, and I think that's the way it should be in FIFA as well. And also when you deal with countries and with projects, it's a bit of a tedious process where you have to go and apply and reapply for projects. And I think if we go to countries, we look at their needs, you can fulfill all their needs, at least the basic ones. In other words, having every country in the world with a dedicated national stadium, with fields, pitches, basic kits and equipment to play the game. And also to have a human aspect in it. You have so many coaches, former players who are out there who might need to work. Development is also human, so you can have a scholarship program where you take these coaches and you allow them to play in countries who might not be able to afford them themselves, and as well as taking their own local coaches to other places, attach them to clubs and so on for a few months so they can get the experience of football. And it's a continuous
interaction,
evolution.
really.
Yeah.
Yes, rather than being dictated. Yeah. So at some point on your journey through FIFA, obviously you came to the conclusion that you wished to run for the presidency. I mean, you are, let's be perfectly fair and respectful about this, you are one of 4 candidates. There's yourself, there's Michael van Praag from Holland, there's Luis Figo from Portugal, and there's Sepp Blatter from Switzerland, who is obviously the incumbent FIFA president. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly think, oh, I'm going to run for FIFA president. Presumably the idea had almost evolved in your mind over a long period, or, how did it germinate in your mind?
It was a discussion that I'd been having with colleagues in football, both within FIFA, within our executive committee, as well as with national associations, as well as with other key stakeholders in football, including sponsors, who decided that, who kept saying that, look, as wonderful as football is and as popular as it is around the world, unfortunately the reputation of FIFA is not there at all. So therefore a change needs to happen, whether it's myself or anyone else. And it came to a point where I said, okay, I'll go for it, and let's see what we can do. Coming from a country that maybe understands a lot more the challenges of developing countries in football, but also having a good working relationship with countries at the elite level, it became natural to be someone who can bridge those gaps, as well as bridge the gaps between confederations. Because unfortunately, I've seen in the past period this idea that confederations should, are sort of played off against each other a little bit, and that's very unfortunate for the sport itself. So I think putting all of that together, I thought that I could not see myself being a part of FIFA for the next 4 years if it continues the way that it does, and the only way to make that difference is to go for this challenge.
Right. So you're developing the idea. Was there then one particular moment, one particular event, one particular occurrence that finally?
There's been a series of events,
such as
over the past 4 years, such as a little bit the idea that we should be comfortable with where we are, not willing to move on.
You think it's a complacency in
it's
the
not a
organisation
complacency.
because of the success of football?
It's the idea that people should be grateful to the organisation, to the leadership, for some, and that attitude was uncomfortable to me because, again, we are there to serve football. We're not, it's not. It shouldn't be that kind of system at all. as well as, I think that when it comes to leadership, if I was a leader, I take full responsibility for what happens within an organization. You have to do that and not cast blame on others. There were many issues such as not having the Garcia report published, not taking into account Mark Pye's recommendations and so on. And it's unfortunate because we're spending a lot of money on these professionals to come in and help us out, yet when the recommendations come out, we don't take them into account. Yeah. And I think that's a real big problem for the organization. And just seeing the reputation of FIFA right now, for right or wrong, but that needs to change.
Were there particular things that Mark Pietz, the governance guru, came up with that you would particularly think were missed?
Yeah, I think most of the recommendations in governance were quite good. Maybe there is room for debate of whether something should be implemented or not. But the whole point is it was just shelved, and that's not how you deal with things. But anyway, can we go back to football now?
We can go back to football. Yes, exactly. Yes, and in fact we'll do it in a way that you will particularly appreciate, because we do have a video about the AFDP and your work with that.
A universal language that speaks to absolutely everyone, breaking boundaries across all cultures. In Asia, the largest, most diverse continent, we too speak football. To rise above all barriers and unleash the untapped potential of our youth. Kicking off with Football for All, headscarf-wearing footballers can now enjoy their favorite sport on the field. This successful AFDP-led global campaign ensured respect for all, endorsing AFDP's proposal for an expanded, more open Asian Champions League to give a fair chance to all teams to play based on sporting merit and club licensing. Joining One World Play Project and the Asian Football Confederation to deliver more than 80,000 ultra-durable footballs for social development projects, allowing children in underprivileged areas to play wherever they want, as much as they want. Launching Kick for Hope, dedicated to social responsibility, using football in Asia in cooperation with our official partner, PepsiCo, to introduce new opportunities and hope and transform people's lives. Teaming up with UEFA and Street Football World to bring global power and expertise to local initiatives across Asia. Joining One Goal, a movement of 1.4 billion football fans, clubs, teams, and football stars to tackle the issue of child malnutrition and obesity in Asia. Hosting the Soccerex Asian Forum for 2 consecutive years, providing a platform for networking and knowledge exchange for stakeholders and football leaders to pave the way forward. We're carrying the spirit of football to every part of Asia, east to west, by creating the Under-16 Women's League in Palestine and supporting the Women's National League to empower girls through football. Embracing football as a tool for social development by unveiling Kick for Hope for Syrian refugee communities in Jordan, together with the Football Association of Norway, the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, and UEFA, providing footballs for the Jordan Football Association and schools in disadvantaged communities. Launching 15 girls' grassroots centers in Jordan, investing in a bright future for the growth of women's football, as the country prepares to host FIFA's Under-17 World Cup in 2016. Promoting mind risk education with Spirit of Soccer in northern Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon for children in refugee camps and host communities. Encouraging Iranian grassroots football by donating football equipment to the Football Federation of Iran. Opening doors for youth across Tajikistan to have access to high-quality football training with the Tajikistan Football Federation. Supporting the Football Federation of Kyrgyz Republic to build women's football-friendly zones and run women's football training camps. Assisting the Mongolian Football Federation to organize Magic Ball, a national futsal championship for school children, and donating footballs to the Mongolian Football Federation to be used in schools in all provinces. Joining the Magic Bus Ride to create football teams for India's most marginalized girls and boys, cultivating talent for the national team. Training underprivileged children through coaching camps with India's Football Players Association. Launching Play for Life, a grassroots football movement across all provinces in Bhutan, promoting better health through football in Myanmar with Football United, supporting the Lao Football Federation by donating equipment to women's football activities, empowering the mighty girls of Cambodia with SALT Academy to fight human trafficking with football and give girls hope and purpose, providing football equipment to Football for All in Vietnam, for schools, orphanages, and social centers for children with special needs in provinces that do not have clubs yet, planting the seeds for clubs to emerge, supporting the Chinese Taipei Football Association to launch the Taiwan Youth League, implementing a youth and coach development program, joining the Kasibilan Football Grassroots Development Program with the Philippines Football Federation, providing equipment for over 55,000 children and 8,000 coaches and volunteers, sponsoring Dignity for Children's Faisal Cup, Malaysia's first and only tournament for children, including girls for the very first time, supporting football for social inclusion and coexistence in Australia with Mr. Soccer. In 2015, we continue to pass the ball to new playing fields, including raising awareness on women's football and encouraging female participation in Lebanon and Kuwait, addressing gender-based violence through football in Nepal, contributing to improving child nutrition and adopting a healthy lifestyle. It takes a team to win a game. Together with our partners and friends, we play for Asia's children and youth because we speak football. We love football.
And I think, as you all saw there, the outreach of AFDP is, I think it's something extraordinary. And I think you deserve all congratulations for that, because it's actually your vision come to life. And I think that's a wonderful job. So if we talk about your vision for football, which obviously you have, would you like to expand a little bit more? Because obviously you've been sharing this with Federation, National Association leaders from around the world over the last few months.
Yeah, in football in particular, you know, I've had this wonderful, unique opportunity over the past couple of months to go across the world. Obviously, putting aside that it's part of a campaign, but it has given me the opportunity to meet with the leaders in football from all different parts of the world and listen to them and get their feedback. And I think that the most crucial issue now is to have much more of an input into the organization from a national association level. And I think that there is that desire within national associations to own FIFA, to own the game, and the desire to develop as much as possible, to be self-sustaining as much as possible. That can only be for the benefit of FIFA and for the benefit of the future of football. And for me, my focus would be on development, on grassroots, and on having this game explode. Especially in competitions on youth levels, women's football as well, and to have hopefully, regardless of the outcome, a FIFA that is much more open and much more accepting, and one in which everybody has faith across the world.
How do you encourage national associations really to take this initiative in this particular way?
I think they're ready.
Yeah.
They're definitely ready, but you have to treat them with dignity and respect and give them the platform. The rest is up to them. But again, you have to help facilitate that. And they know what's best for themselves, for their communities as well.
Yeah, okay. I mean, how many countries have you been to so far? How many have you got to go?
Well, I suppose over 50 countries.
Yeah.
But also I've been meeting with national associations, whether during congresses or else. It's a big world,
yes.
And it's difficult, obviously, to get everywhere. But having said that, I will continue up until the end of May, and regardless of the outcome, I'd like to build on this. Hopefully, it'll be a good one. But
yes.
regardless, I would love to build up on
yeah.
this.
Yes. Sure. You attended various congresses of various confederations, as we know, and obviously you had the opportunity there to mix and meet all the national association leaders and officials. Were you disappointed that it was only at one of them, at the European one, that you were able to speak from the podium? I mean, you and the other candidates, obviously, you know.
Look, I mean, obviously it's their confederation congresses. But to me, it was a bit shocking that you have, obviously, the incumbent and 3 other candidates there. I could take Asia, for example. Obviously, if I wasn't running myself, I would have made sure that we get all 4 candidates on the stage and we have a chance to ask them questions, to know what their programs are, and to give them, and to see what we can benefit, and base our decisions on that. And unfortunately, that was not the case, not even in my own confederation.
Was it a question that you asked if you could speak, or was it incumbent on them to invite you? I mean, how does it work? I mean, obviously, Asia is particular and specific to you because, you know, you are the president of a federation in the Asian Confederation.
Well, sure, I think, and it wasn't just in Asia, but in other confederations as well. You know, the reasoning was that the incumbent is speaking only as the president of FIFA and not campaigning, when I think if we could pretty much see that there was, and that there was some campaigning going on. But anyway, in Asia in particular, yes, I wanted to take the stage, both as an outgoing vice president, at least to say thank you and wish you luck, but also as a candidate. And I was told I can't, but I also insisted that if I go and I speak, that also the other 2 candidates, Michael Van Praag and Luis Figo, are also given the opportunity to speak. Our continent is about dignity, about respect, and that's very important, putting aside anything, but hospitality is also crucial for us. And for me, it was a bit shocking that I was invited to UEFA, being a candidate from outside of UEFA, to take the stage, and when others come to my continent, that they're not given that opportunity as well. So it was a disappointment for sure.
Yes, I can imagine. Yes, because obviously, I mean, you would almost have thought the national associations would want to almost raise their own ante and push their own ideas on their own candidates, really.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you know, at the end of the day, we all have different approaches. We come from different schools of thought, whether it's the incumbent, Van Praag, Figo, myself, and it's an opportunity that happens once every 4 years, and that's democracy, to listen, to learn, and then at the end, to give the opportunity for people to choose who they want based on the feedback that they have. And I'm concerned. I'm also concerned that if that attitude takes place at the top level in football, what does that mean for national associations themselves?
Well, it's example it sets, if you like.
On one hand, you say, look, as a national association, you have to be democratic, you have to do this, but you don't apply it to the top level of football. And that's a big problem that I see, also in the attitude of approaching.
Yes, I mean, is that a major issue, really, for the governance of the game going forward?
Sure.
Yeah.
And you lead by example.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to make the point, you know, Soccerex did invite all the candidates to be here. It's, you know, obviously, His Royal Highness is our host, but the others were invited and had the opportunity to be here. So this is also the respect, I think, that we can say that they were offered. If you come to May the 29th, Election Day, 3 candidates, would you expect to talk to the other candidates before the election about whether one should go forward or not?
Well, obviously, I think it's wonderful that there are 3 candidates challenging for this. I think it's also shows you know, the real desire for change at this stage. We all come from different backgrounds. I mean, Figo comes from a player's background, Van Praag from the elite level of European football, myself coming from development in football. And definitely I think that, that we'll be in communicating with each other. But right now, I think we're all focused on what we want to do and just getting the message out and engaging with national associations.
Sure. In your discussions with national associations, are there any particular ideas that people have come up with and you've been able to adopt them particularly, or there's something new or some new insight that you've been able to gain yourself?
Sure. I mean, for me, it was all, it was a very good learning experience in terms of getting feedback. That's just, as people know me, that's how I work and what I do, and I like to live up to promises if I make them. But yeah, I learned a lot from different countries and seeing their challenges on the ground. If you go to, for example, to the Caribbean, they have a lot of challenges, even physically, between being able to get from island to island and so on, to the actual physical challenges that they have in terms of having dedicated national stadiums and pitches. Oftentimes it's shared with other sports and so on. So they have specific challenges. And then you go to a country like Ethiopia, which has 80 million population, but again, their budget in terms of development is the same as everybody else's. So you have to look at things in their own unique ways. But I think the most important thing is to have an idea of having regional offices for FIFA in terms of development, because they know best what's going on in their areas, and they can give the feedback directly to FIFA, because at the end of the day, a committee meets twice a year, and things are delayed till the meetings themselves. Sure. So it has to be a continuous process.
Do you think FIFA has the resources, certainly, to increase its development budgets?
Yeah. Sure it does. There's a lot of discussion about numbers that have been thrown out. I've been very hesitant to get into that because I don't know. I don't think many people know exactly what the financial situation inside of FIFA is and how things are being spent. But I think that obviously one has to have a healthy reserve, but we have to put a lot more back into the game. And I think that there's a cycle there. It all, FIFA basically lives off of the World Cup, Men's World Cup. But we have to then use that funds to give back in. Even the aid programs, the aid packages that go to national associations, it hasn't changed since 1989. Aside from last year, where there was a one-off bonus, which will be completed this month, apparently. But again, even with that, we have to have a real cycle, a 4-year cycle, where people know what they're getting, and we have to do it case by case. There are those that need more support than others. What's working, we don't fix, but there's so much more of an opportunity to get there. And also when it comes to the commercial aspects, to companies and so on, the reality is, commercially they should be fighting to sponsor and to support FIFA. But right now, unfortunately, the way I see it is that, sure, some have pulled out and others are, hesitant. But we have to bring that dynamic where people want to be a part of this.
Well, I mean, why do you think that is with the sponsors? Is that an image thing, or is it just a commercial?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think that's really fundamentally the case.
Yeah. Okay. So if you come to May the 30th, and you wake up in the morning as FIFA president, what's the first thing that you do?
I think, what did I just get myself into? No, I mean, I think the most important thing is really to get. I'm not thinking right now about the day after. I have my ideas, obviously, but it would be really to bring the football community together and really chart a path, not just for the next 4 years, but really to have a clear strategy that can be followed and adopted. And I think that's the most important thing.
I mean, we're now in 2015. Where do you see football in 2050? Turning the
In
numbers
2050,
around. 2050.
Well,
Looking
definitely.
10, 20 years ahead.
Yeah.
Is it still the dominant sport? Is it still the king of sports, as we call it?
Well, let me put it this way. I mean, I'm not the person who wants to stay in that position for that long, so don't worry about that. But, yeah, no, I think football will always have its place at the top of sport in the world. It's just natural. The nature of the game, its simplicity and its beauty is what makes it so powerful. So, and I think for that reason, we have to really, really focus right now on giving the opportunity to all, being open to new ideas, being open to new people as well. There's nothing wrong with that, to bring the sport forward.
Well, 2050 I won't see, but I'd like to think your vision would come true. Your Royal Highness, thank you very much indeed for
Really a
your
pleasure.
time. Thanks.